Obama gave to me.
State-run healthcare,
Massive unemployment,
wide open borders,
terrorist appeasement,
rising inflation,
new federal gun bans,
big corporate bailouts, socialist.
I'll listen to that
more
all
failing
day
schools,
long.
former Clinton
That's
hacks,
good.
and the leftist judiciary.
Yeah. Well done on the 22nd of December, Monday. Hi, everybody. Tom Trento. It must be 4 o'clock, or at least like 5 minutes after if you're listening on WSBR 740 AM on the dial, not AM in the morning. Or if you're watching on DirecTV on the internet,
Interweb, yeah.
theunitedwest.org and Tea Party community. Don't forget, we need your contacting us if you're coming with us on this trip to Israel, March 21st. Got to tie everything up by the first or second week in January. So if you want to come on an amazing trip to Israel, a fact-finding mission studying national security issues, and they got some stuff going on over there, but we're not going to talk too much about Israel today. We're talking about the New York City horrible situation. But up on the screen right now, you can contact me, Tom, at the United West, theunitedwest.org. We'll send you all the information about this phenomenal trip to Israel, 10 days, about $3,000, first-class hotels, the whole deal. Now's the time to go. The world is focused on the Middle East. Though over this weekend, a very sad situation that occurred in New York. That's going to be the focus for this two-part series. Today and tomorrow, we're going to dedicate most of our show today, most of our show tomorrow, for a complete breakdown, an intellectual and analytical breakdown of the situation that occurred in New York, the execution of these cops. We're going to trace it back to see if indeed, as many people are saying, there's blood on the hands of name your poison.
I just want to give a big Merry Christmas. Al Sharpton got his early Christmas present.
Yep.
He did get it. You know what did he want? Dead cops. When did he want them? Now, well, Merry Christmas, Al. You got it.
He speaks with forked tongues. No, I never wanted dead cops. I'm against dead cops. We're peaceful. We're this. We're that.
Well, he sponsored a rally that called for the dead cops, that called
there
for
were
killing
people
cops.
that called for it, and he
didn't come out and denounce it at the time. He didn't come out and say, no, this is wrong. I abhor this message of we want dead cops, we want them now. Give me a break.
This is what we're going to look at with Al Sharpton, how he tries to play both ends against the middle, and then when the completely expected on our part happens, two cops executed. This was not hard to figure out.
My brother Mike, who's a police officer, has predicted it. He goes, said every cop should go out on strike in New York City. Say, okay, well, what do you want? No cops? When do you want them now? Okay, you got them.
Yeah, no, I know. We're gonna look into. I mean, this is bad news. Not only are two families missing, two of America's finest, not just New York. These were good guys, but what does this mean going forward? And who's for the killing of cops? Is it going to stop? A lot of questions we're going to raise. But you know what? Before we get into all that tough stuff,
right?
It's almost Christmas. We got 3 days till Christmas. Everybody's running around. I went to a couple of stores over the weekend, and people are buying this, buying that, saying Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays. I never got into the Happy Holidays. It's Christmas time, right? It's December, it's Christmas. Hanukkah slides in and out from different times. Happy Hanukkah, great. But it's Christmas time. That's what it's all about. At least to my non-politically correct friends. But to my politically correct friends, my liberal friends, I have a special Christmas. I have a special. I'm sorry.
You almost ruined it.
I almost ruined it. All right.
Okay. I have a special greeting for you. Please, please, please accept, with no obligation, whether I imply it or whether it's explicit, my best wishes. How's that? For an environmentally conscious, socially responsible, low-stress, non-addictive, gender-neutral celebration of the winter solstice holiday, practiced within the most enjoyable tradition of the religious persuasion of your choice. Or, for my secular friends, your secular practices of your choice, with respect, of course, to the religious secular persuasion and or traditions of others, and, of course, their choice not to practice religious or secular traditions at all. I also wish with you a financially successful, personally fulfilling, and medically uncomplicated recognition of the onset of the generally accepted calendar year 2014, but not without due respect to the calendars of choice of other cultures. And we know their contributions to society have made America great. And I don't want to imply that America is necessarily great or greater than any other country, or only America is the best country in the Western Hemisphere. Of course, I would never do that. Also, this wish is made without regard to the race, creed, color, age, physical ability, religious faith, or sexual preference of the wishy. But to all my other friends, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yeah. You pulled that off. All right.
I hope I never hear you say that again.
Thanks for the teleprompter. I pulled it off. And I was going to memorize it, but I didn't want that crap in my head.
Yes, thank you. Clean the filth.
Man, give me a break, you know?
That was brutal just to listen to. Imagine if that was really how you acted in your life.
Well, that is how
everybody we're going to talk about today.
That's
what
they
hold to.
That's what they believe, yeah.
Yeah, and particularly the pieces about the non-exceptional elements of the United States of America. So, but before we even get into that heavy stuff at 12 minutes after 4 on the 22nd of December 2014, how was the weekend for you boys here? You know, you're developing a fan base.
Yeah.
You are. I mean, I go places, and we were someplace the other day, and somebody came up to me and said, "I finally met Abdullah. It was so good. We listened to you guys every day."
Abdullah's not even here today, and you're praising him.
Yeah, I'm just telling you what happened.
You praised the Muslim radical imam over us. You know. All right.
Trento, I am very sorry. I am late as
Here's
usual.
what to do.
I apologize again.
You have radar?
Are you on camel time or something, or desert time, or what does your time work by?
Oh, just running late, my infidel friends.
Note to self, don't pay Abdullah this week. That's not hard to do.
Because we don't pay.
That's every week.
I am paid by the Saudi government anyway. Don't you worry.
That's true. Those guys get a little nervous with the Islamic State playing games a little bit to their north and to their east. Again, more shows. Here's what we have in plan for you for the week, folks. Today and tomorrow, 2 parts on the New York situation. We're calling it cops and robbers, basically. We got cops, the good guys, and the robbers, the bad guys. But in this case, the robbers are people who have taken an oath to be the good guys. And we're going to look at them very carefully. Part 1, Part 2. Today we're going to look at sort of a timeline of from Ferguson to Bedford-Stuyvesant, where the execution took place Saturday evening of 2 police officers. We're going to look at the role of Ferguson in this. We're going to look at the role of Al Sharpton in it. We're going to look at the role of President Olinsky in this. That's going to be very, very important. We're going to look at President Olinsky.
President Olinsky?
President Olinsky.
What did you say?
President Olinsky. As we move into these final 2 years of the lame duck deal, this narcissistic, insecure individual who we knew was going to be bad news for America has promised to be even worse news. When you teach this stuff, as we have for the past 6 years, you still are shocked when you see something like over the weekend. He was briefed on the golf course in Hawaii about the slaughter of 2 police. And did he say, "Hey, I gotta put my clubs down. I gotta get to my home. I gotta be on top of this thing because I have been standing with the protesters giving lip service to the police, but I've been standing with the protesters. There's a possibility this could be misconstrued, and I have a phenomenal staff, but maybe I need to be more accessible, or maybe just for pure optics, I should not be playing golf in Hawaii while the New York Police Department, America's finest police department, 35,000 men and women, tops in counterterrorism, is going through an immense tragedy. Maybe I shouldn't be playing golf. How could anyone in their right mind who's played golf, 150 times, how could they say or not say in their own mind, I'll skip this next 3 or 4 hours. I'll play golf tomorrow. No, he continues and plays golf in Hawaii while New York is going through a traumatic moment, not knowing if there's going to be second or third attacks, not knowing if this is a part of terrorism, because indeed at that point, everybody knew that Brinsley, what's his first name? Ishmael Abdullah
Oh,
Brinsley,
like me.
Is it? Yes, Abdullah is a Muslim. No, he goes on to continue playing golf. We're going to look into that in great detail. Tomorrow we'll bring in the Islamic element in the Ferguson movement and the chaos in the streets by the various Muslim gangs, including the Nation of Islam.
Tom, he wasn't radicalized.
Who wasn't?
Brinsley.
Ishmael Abdullah Brinsley?
Yeah, according to the police who quoted his mother saying that
Police quoted his mother.
he wasn't radicalized in any way.
Okay, well,
He was just a normal Muslim.
I would agree to that. He was functioning in Islamic doctrine to strike terror in the hearts of the infidel. Probably even quoted that verse somewhere in his life or in his Instagram or in his whatevers. Probably did that. That's the typical verse of
he actually
of
did.
jihadis.
He actually did.
What do you got up there? What is that?
Well, if you actually look at Imam Abdullah, once you
What is that?
quote.
Is that Instagram?
That's his Instagram.
That is
code.
that's actually his Facebook. I'm sorry,
Facebook
that's
page.
his Facebook
That's his
page
Facebook
where he
post.
has Surah 8. Actually, Surah
Slight at the hands.
860.
860, the classic verse that says
it.
what? Read
Read it right there on the screen.
The
That's a little tough to read right there.
Strike terror in the hearts of the believers, right there, right in the middle.
That's the main part. Strike
Strike-
terror in the
right.
hearts of the unbelievers. And in fact, that's the section, Surah 8:6.
Oh, I see it. I needed my glasses. Against them, make ready your strength to the utmost of your power, including steeds of war, to strike terror into the hearts of the enemies of Allah, the enemies of Allah, and your enemies, and others besides whom ye may not know, but whom Allah doth know. Whatever ye shall spend in the cause of Allah shall be repaid unto you, and ye shall not be treated unjustly. So basically, this is saying to absolutely terrorize and strike fear into the enemies of Allah and your enemies, and whatever you do on this earth will be repaid, and then some in your afterlife.
You know what's kind of weird about that? You listen to the mainstream news or any news, even the Fox News. Everybody out there. That's not even. That was his.
Nobody's bringing that.
That's
in.
one of his last messages just before he went out and killed the two
What is
cops.
this?
No. That was
it's
from earlier
older.
in the year. That
Yeah.
was from earlier in the
What
year.
is the date? Because we're going to put the timeline.
That's March
together.
7th.
All right,
March
March
7th?
7th.
Okay.
So way back in
March
March
7th.
of this year, Ishmael Abdullah, and we're going to use his middle name because that's his middle name.
And I
Ishmael-
like to hear it too.
Yes. Barack Hussein Obama. Barack Hussein Olinsky. You understand my reference?
Right.
Saul
course.
Alinsky, a student, the president. We're seeing classic Alinskyite methods and practices by the four people that are really at the center of this, the four officials. But Ishmael Abdullah Brinsley, 28 years old, in March, put out on his Facebook page that part of the Quran that talks about Surah 860, talks about striking fear in the hearts of the unbelievers. I've seen in some responses Muslims saying, well, read the verses after that. They're the peaceful verses. Read them. Read them. What do they say? The next verse.
But if the enemy incline towards peace, do thou incline towards peace, and trust in Allah. For he is the one that heareth and knoweth all things.
Yeah, very simple. They're saying, look,
Peace.
you got to strike fear in the hearts of the enemies, but if they incline toward peace, then
meaning?
what comes next if they want to be peaceful?
Should they intend to deceive thee, verily Allah sufficeth thee. It is that that hath strengthened thee with his aid and with the company of the believers.
All right, but what if here's where we are, ladies and gentlemen, at 21 minutes after 4 o'clock on the 22nd of December. We're looking at the New York City execution of the 2 cops. We're gonna look at the cultural issues, and the way we're going to do this, we're gonna look at a timeline in a minute from Ferguson to Bed-Stuy, Beverson-Stuyvesant area. And we are going to ask some serious questions. For instance, is there blood on the hands of President Obama,
Yes.
Attorney General
Yes.
Eric Holder,
Yes.
Mayor Red Bill, Bill de Blasio,
Absolutely.
and Al Minister, Father, Preacher, Pastor Al Sharpton? Do they have blood on their hands? Now,
Of course.
is this literal blood? Is it figurative blood?
I tell you what, Al might as well just pull the damn trigger on him. What do you want, dead cops? When do you want them now? He sponsors the rally that calls for that. Give me a break.
I heard-
Just,
I
anybody who says this is lone wolf I'm tired of this lone wolf. This
I
is
heard,
directly related.
before you get too excited, I heard, we need to double check, that he came against that when he heard that. Let's double check to make sure that's not true. I heard he
sponsored
backed
the
up.
rally.
I understand,
Tom.
but you can have crazy people in a rally. It happens in our rallies. There's crazy.
Did he ever
people
come
out there.
out? Did he ever come out right after? Says,
Yes.
I completely denounced this.
I heard he did. Let's double check. If he did, well, if he did, it doesn't even matter.
Doesn't matter. He's the one who.
I know. He speaks out of both sides of his mouth. But if he didn't, then that's even
That you know what
implicates it even more.
that's like the leaders of Hamas that say we are for peace with
of
Israel.
course.
Okay, it's the
No,
same
we know
thing.
that.
It's a two-tongued approach to saying one thing to one audience and another thing to another audience.
But if I could be mistaken, we'll check. I remember him. He was speaking. He goes, "We want no violence. We're against what these people are saying." Just double check it. We'll find out. But what we're doing culturally, ladies and
Well,
gentlemen.
here, before we check it out,
Bernie
go right
Carrick tends to think
Well, yeah.
Former NYPD Commissioner de Blasio, Sharpton have blood on their hands.
And the question we're raising, as people that are also community organizers and activists, and we say a lot of stuff, what is the connection? This is a First Amendment issue, too, and a moral issue. What's the connection from the words you say and the actions of the people that are listening to you? What is that legal connection?
burn this bitch down.
Incitement to violence?
At what point is the moral line crossed? It's very difficult to cross the legal line because you really have
Fire
to,
in a movie theater, is that the legal line?
you really have to have, and the Supreme Court has held, in order for there to be the doctrine of incitement where the speaker is culpable. And we're all speakers.
Right.
So just because these crazy people said crazy stuff, we got to be careful that we don't indict ourselves in this. But
Wasn't there some famous landmark case, the KKK and
Skokie, Illinois,
No,
if
it
I'm not
wasn't Skokie. Hold
mistaken.
on.
the Brandenburg case
Brandenburg.
in 1968, I think it was in Ohio.
Yeah, that's the
Simply, there's a 3-part test, and the final element of that is imminency. Has to be an imminent physical reaction to the words spoken. For instance, you could say, "We need to have a revolution," and there's people in the audience, and if they go do something, then they're not responding to your call because you never saw. We need to have a revolution now, and you guys need to go do it now and hurt somebody. That's inciting to riot. That's a criminal offense.
When you sponsor a rally that says,
I
"What do you want, dead
understand.
cops?" Hold on.
We're
And the
going to
guy-
bury him. We're going to bury him, but I'm doing it.
No, I'm just saying.
legally.
I'm talking about legally. I'm not talking about morally. I'm talking about legally. Is you have it? These people saying it, and all the incitement before that, and then the guy writes on his Facebook and Twitter accounts and everything, "I'm going to
Same
go
exact
kill."
words. I mean, same
Same exact words, and the guy goes and shoots 2 cops execution style. How much more of a direct line do you need?
Well, that's the question we're raising today.
You are racist. Tom? Tom.
And Bernie Carrick, and just more than Bernie Carrick. I mean, many many leaders all over the place have said these guys have blood on their hands. Now, they're speaking figuratively that something they did has caused this. They don't literally have blood on their hands. Their actions have caused this. And, I mean, we're raising those questions. And then we're saying what else motivated this Ishmael Abdullah Brinsley, and we're gonna bring in the Islamic factor because we think that's a very important factor that has not been brought to the forefront. And the reason we're going to bring that in because as you see in the timeline at 26 minutes after 4 o'clock, we're going to lay out from Ferguson that back in Ferguson we even have a Facebook group called what? What's the name of the Facebook group?
That would be Muslims for Ferguson, Tom.
Say that again.
That would be Muslims for Ferguson, Tom.
So there's a Facebook group called Muslims for Ferguson.
Is that it? Okay.
And anybody with Facebook can go plug in. Don't shoot. Hands up.
Don't shoot.
Yep. So we're going to show.
Down.
Not only are we going to show that. That the Islamic world and not the lovey, softy, cuddly feeling, peace for everybody side of the Islamic world joined in the protests in Ferguson and New York. But this is the rough and tumble jihad, Surah 860, strike fear in the hearts of the infidels, Islam, that has joined into this cavalcade of nonsense that's resulted in an execution. So that's where we're going over the next couple of days, and we're going to find out if there's any solutions to this. Is this the harbinger of more chaos in the streets?
No, it's a harbinger of peace and solitude around the country. Everything's going to be kumbaya, Tom. You don't worry about anything.
Yeah, that's right. There's no cop shot in Florida or anything like that yet.
Yeah, there was a cop shot in Florida. So far unrelated to these kinds of protests. But
we don't know this.
Certainly, no, nothing indicating that they were protesting Ferguson. But it's becoming, when you create a culture and an environment of the cops are all bad, a lot easier for somebody to go shoot somebody that's bad, knowing that somebody, Al Sharpton, is going to be on his side holding a protest for the guy who shot the cop in Tarpon Springs yesterday. Very sad. Actually, the same night, Saturday night.
I'm going to completely disagree with you and agree with you at the same time because
what did he just say?
No, because you said it had nothing to do with your initial statement with New York.
With Ferguson, yeah.
And that the cop was shot and killed. I think it had everything to do because of what you said second part, which was that it lowers the bar to kill. Now it seems like it's an open season on cops. You can kill them for whatever reason you want to. The precedent of what Al Sharpton and the race baiting gang has done is basically put a bullseye on a cop for any reason, for anything, because now you have the right to shoot them.
Yep, I think that's the direction things are going right now. But let's build a case for that. Okay, that's our analysis. But we want to systematically go through this. Do we have a timeline from Ferguson? Do we have that timeline or just?
We actually have a video for that one. If we, Damon, you want to pull?
All right, we're going to put a video up. And Ferguson happened, what was it, August 18th, I think?
No, he wanted to go to Ferguson.
From Ferguson. From Ferguson.
Yeah, from Ferguson. All right. That happened on the 18th of August.
Right.
And by way of recapping, Michael Brown, 18 years old, giant of a man. He's a man. Clearly, he can
6'4". He's an NFL
6'6", 292 pounds.
6'6", 290 pounds. That's NFL lineman size. Lineman. And NFL. The Miami Dolphins.
The record has come out since then that he had some prior brushes with the law that were pretty serious. So we know he's not a choir boy or an angel. And he went into a convenience store. For those of you driving or listening and sort of trying to get an overview of what happened in New York and how does it relate to Ferguson, Michael Brown went into a convenience store, stole cigars, these goofy little cigars that like a $50 purchase or so, didn't want to pay for it.
Right.
And the cigars were for rolling gigantic joints.
Right, blunts.
So we said that he made a series of decisions, 5 or 6 of them that day, where he was the master of his own destiny, Michael Brown was. He stole property that wasn't his. He was stealing for illegal purposes to go get high from smoking dope. Whether you agree or disagree with that is irrelevant. It was breaking the law. And then the proprietor, a small Indian fella, small in stature, miniature compared to Michael Brown, went and tried to say, "What are you doing?" Michael Brown swatted him away like a fly with the gigantic forearm he had. The guy
NFL
got
linebacker
back.
size, yeah.
Yeah, nice shot that a linebacker would hit somebody with. And then the proprietor stumbled and came forward again saying, "Please, please." And Michael Brown did what?
He charged him like a
charged
fullback.
him.
Like a fullback. Boom.
Just or like keep the linebacker metaphor going. Just like a linebacker would go hit somebody, he goes into him. The guy sees like, "Whoa, I'm outclassed here," backs off. 2 offenses. Those are 2 criminal acts that Michael Brown did. So far 4. Stole material, gonna smoke dope, illegal, assaulted the guy twice, now goes out, all points bulletin goes out, be on the lookout for this gigantic guy. You have to get a red jacket on. Darren Wilson, police officer, sees him jaywalking, calls him over, says, "Hey, stop." 2 guys, Michael Brown and his nitwit, low-life scum of a friend who lied to everybody and was caught lying in the grand jury about what actually happened. And he said Michael Brown's hands were up. Remember that? And don't shoot, my hands are up. Total lie, happened. Total fabrication, which I think is a symbol for the absurdity of this whole thing that Al Sharpton took over. A lie wrapped in deception, and he put a bow on it, Al Sharpton, and got the president and the attorney general to stamp approval on this package, this gift of death and destruction, which has resulted now in the death of 2 people.
Not only that, Tom, I mean, that's very important, but also on the public perception side, you have these race baiters with the supporting of the president pushing us out, where you have NFL teams holding up their hands, running out on the field, "Don't shoot."
They came after, in terms of the timeline. I'm still on day 1.
Yeah,
I have an actual timeline of the day's events if you want.
Yeah, I want to do that. On day 1, Darren Wilson says, hey, wait there. Michael Brown just charged the little guy.
like a linebacker.
Charges a guy in the car.
Same thing he did with the
store. You got to say, what the heck is this kid doing? He's charging a cop in a car. And he starts beating up the cop in a car. On the record, people saw it. Cop goes for his gun, shoots him from the car. Shoots him to protect his own life. Brown stumbles away. Darren Wilson gets out, tells him to stop. Brown turns around and charges him again. That's when the fatal shots were fired. What timeline do you have?
I have 11:51 a.m. I'm sorry, 11:48 a.m. An officer responds to a call of a sick person. 11:51 a.m. Another call comes in about a robbery at a convenience store. The dispatcher gives a description of the robber and says the suspect is walking toward the Quick Trip convenience store. 12:01 p.m., 10 minutes later, the officer, Darren Wilson, encounters Michael Brown and a friend as they walk down a street. Brown is shot to death as a result of the encounter. Well, that's a really great timeline. 12:04, a second officer arrives on the scene, followed by a supervisor 1 minute later. An ambulance responding to the earlier sick person.
What day was this?
Saturday, August 9.
August 9th, okay. I said the 19th or 18th. It's the 9th because that's important in light of the New York timeline. Go ahead, the 9th.
Okay.
11:04.
I'm sorry. An ambulance responding to the earlier sick person call drives by and responds to assess Brown. Sunday, August 10th, 10 a.m., Michael Brown, 18, was unarmed, St. Louis County Police Chief Joe Belmar says in a news conference. Belmar says Brown physically assaulted the officer, and during a struggle between the two, Brown reached for the officer's gun. One shot...
Wait, let him finish the timeline.
One shot was fired in the car, followed by other gunshots outside of the car. Go ahead.
No, right there is... anybody who attacks a cop who's sitting in a car, you're going to get shot. Okay? Especially when you go after his gun. All right? I don't care if you're standing on your head, jumping up and down with your hands up. If you go after a cop with his gun, you're gonna get shot.
If the cop's any good.
right.
Now, here's what's very interesting about the timeline, Tom. That is August 10th. This presser with what was his name? Joe Belmar, the St. Louis County Police Chief. On the same day, this explains so much, it's scary. Same day, Brown's parents retain attorney Benjamin Crump, who represented the family of Trayvon Martin, as their counsel. The shooting was on the 9th. This is on the 10th. The police officer, Belmar, has the conference on the 10th on the same day. And I'm reading from the USA Today, which I don't think is a right-wing leaning publication. They're saying on the 10th, Brown's parents retain attorney Benjamin Crump, who represented the family of Trayvon Martin as their counsel.
Who we know has a direct line to Obama in the White House and Eric Holder. We know that.
Yep.
From the Trayvon Martin case.
Continuing on the 10th, the candlelight vigil to honor Brown later turns violent. More than a dozen... This is on the 10th. This is the day after the shooting. And the day of the press conference and the day of Crump being hired.
Hold there. So we're on the 10th now, the day after. Now, what we're doing at 37 minutes after 4 o'clock, we're giving you a timeline, folks, so you can see the unbroken chain from Ferguson to New York City, and see how President Olinsky, and that's a combination of Saul Alinsky, these tactics for community organizing, President Olinsky, Attorney General Holder, Bill de Blasio, and Al Sharpton. And who's the common demon in between those two cities, Ferguson and New York?
Al Sharpton, Eric Holder.
Now, we're on the 10th. And there's a candlelight vigil on the 10th in Ferguson, Missouri, and it gets violent. Let's go back now to the Eric Gardner timeline, and we're going to lay these over one another to see how the events in Ferguson and New York intersected. The cops approach Eric Gardner on what day? Anybody remember?
18th, or was it?
What month?
What was that, in August, right?
No, it was in July.
July.
This happened before.
Yeah.
The Eric Gardner death happened before Michael Brown. July 17th, the cops approach Eric Gardner, 43 years old, another big guy, gigantic,
huge.
Guy. He was selling those cigarettes,
Lucy's,
which is a whole reason why. But
it's I mean, he
you don't get 4 cops to go chase someone down for loose cigarette unless it comes from the mayor's office.
That's
Nobody
something we're
does
looking
that.
into. But it's bizarre that whatever reason they were there. Yeah. They were going to arrest him, and he was resisting arrest. These are pure facts that the grand jury.
It's on video. Him resisting arrest is on video.
That's on the 17th, and he struggles with them. And the guy was way overweight, bad shape, all of that. He was choked, supposedly choked. I can't breathe. On the 18th, so he dies on the 17th of July. On the 18th. Officer Pantaleo and his partner, Officer Justin D'Amico, were put on desk duty in the wake of the death. On the 22nd, Police Commissioner Bill Bratton orders that all 35,000 of his police officers are retrained in the death of Gardner because they weren't supposed to do the chokehold, apparently.
Hold on. Stop right there.
Okay, we're on the 22nd of July.
Stop right there.
2 weeks before Michael Brown.
I'm going to go back to the Ferguson thing for a second.
Jumping ahead to August 10th.
Well, yes. Whenever the community organizer get involved, whenever the attorney gets involved, and I'm actually going to trace it all the way back to Trayvon Martin, that whole nonsense down here in Florida.
Yeah, but Al Sharpton had nothing to do with that.
Yes, he did. What are you talking about?
He was in the middle of the whole thing. He instigated the whole thing.
Now, as soon as this attorney shows up, and as soon as Al Sharpton turns up, now we have 50, 60 protesters for the camera. Just like robots. All right, let me ask you this. This is completely fake protests. Because every time Al shows up, now there's protests.
Now
It's not a fake protest because we have video of thousands of people chanting, "What do we want?"
Okay, well, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
One second.
I want to bring everybody through this
I'm coming back
analytically.
I'm coming back to the Gardner thing.
Yeah.
After he was killed, was there any protest? Was there any massive amounts of open demonstration? That only happened after Sharpton and...
I'm gonna read what happened. I'm going through the Gardner timeline. I'm going to bring us right up to Ferguson, and we're going to look at this. And we seem to be, I don't know, there seems to be a clue there called Al Sharpton, who seems to be the, we won't categorize him as an instigator yet.
What are you
talking about?
What you talking about, Willis?
We're presenting our case. We're presenting the facts. Let the facts speak for themselves.
Okay.
And we're in a court of law here.
Trento's lost his mind, Ma.
But I will say that Donald Trump said, something's going on with Sharpton. I know the guy, we kind of get along and all that. And he owes like $1 zillion in back taxes. Somehow he's making a lot of scratch at running around doing all this protest stuff, enough money to owe hundreds of thousands of dollars in back taxes. He's making a good life. So if we were the prosecuting side, we would say Al Sharpton's making a lot of money. So whatever he's doing, he's making money on it. So when you make money on something, what do you do more of?
You get greedier.
You're greedier.
That thing, whatever that thing is, you keep doing it. Wherever you find, what the heck was that?
That was Fat Al.
Hey.
That's when he started back during his drug cocaine days.
Well, I give the guy credit for, that's right, he was a cokehead, huh? For losing a lot of weight.
Yeah, he was, yep.
All right, we're on the 22nd now, July 2014. Eric Gardner died on the 17th. Bill Bratton, who's a very good police commissioner, starts retraining all of his cops about these chokeholds. On the 23rd, grief-stricken family and friends, along with politicians and civil rights leaders, say a final goodbye to Eric Gardner at his funeral. Very sad. On the 31st, Bill de Blasio sits down with blank and other community leaders, this is July 31st, during a roundtable discussion on police-community relations following Gardner's death. Bratton is also in attendance. July 31st, about 2 weeks after Gardner dies, Bill de Blasio sits down with blank. Who's blank?
The Reverend Al.
The Reverend Al. So he gets in there. Now, somebody needs to give us an overview on de Blasio's background.
He's a socialist.
No, he's not. He's a communist.
Okay, you're right. Sorry, I stand corrected.
He was involved with the Sandinistas.
He was involved, yes, he was involved with the wrong side of the battles in Nicaragua. He
was on the side of the communists against
I don't think there's much dispute that he is a socialist. I think he presented that pretty clearly in his life. And
didn't he say it himself at one point that he's a
What's very bizarre? Remember when he had a runoff against 4 other opponents in New York? Wiener was supposed to be in there. He dropped out.
Right.
He was like 50 points ahead of the after he won the nomination on the Democrat side. He was like 50 points ahead of the Republican guy in New York. I mean, the city of New York went for this guy big time. They wanted de Blasio as their mayor. Remember, I don't know if you guys remember David Dinkins when he was the mayor of New York and he destroyed New York and Giuliani had to come back and put it back together. These Democrats, these leftists, just destroy cities.
Well, also, if you
Newark, Detroit, Los Angeles, just go on and on and on.
Well, here's something also interesting about de Blasio. If we go back and look after Obama's immigration announcement, New York became this centerpiece headed by where they invited all these mayors to all these big cities. They all brought them to New York, and Valerie Jarrett spearheaded the campaign to give them the illegal immigrants photo IDs, welfare, all these handouts and everything.
To the Democrat mayors?
Yes, throughout all these cities. All the leftist city Democrat mayors are, you can almost shake them in a bowl and plop them in any city. They do the same damn thing.
They do the same thing. All right, here's what we have. 45 minutes after 4 o'clock. We're analyzing 2-part series today and tomorrow. Today's the 22nd. Tomorrow's the 23rd of December because the 23rd always follows the 22nd, at least in my lifetime it has. Who knows what the future holds. But we're taking a look at the very sad situation of the cops who were literally executed. And in fact, let's do this. We have a little video, a little animation video that was played on the news that will depict quite clearly what Ishmael Abdullah Brinsley, 28-year-old convict, busted 19, 20 times, deadbeat, but also adherent of Islam. And on tomorrow's show, we're going to bring out the Islamic element. Today we're doing a timeline so you can see how the two situations in New York and Ferguson meld together. And the reason why we're doing that, we don't believe this is going to end with the execution of these two cops. We here at the United West sadly believe there's going to be more execution of police officers because the momentum and the authorities right now are on the side of the bad guys. At least that's what a lot of bad guys believe. They believe that they have the momentum against the pigs who need to have wings, as articulated by Abdullah Brinsley. And we think there are very devious, seriously bad people planning for such chaos in our urban areas. And we believe that a lot of the jihadi groups are behind this because they are par excellence the experts on how to create social chaos developed in the cauldron of the Middle East over 1,400 years, but more particularly since late 2010, early 2011 with the Arab Spring, how to foment chaos in urban areas on a social justice or no justice, no peace platform. And we know they've interjected themselves into Ferguson and into New York. So we see, call us crazy if you will, we see a red-green alliance. The red of Red Bill de Blasio, hard left-leaning politicos, with the green alliance of the typically Sunni, not excluding Shia Muslim Brotherhood, the Sunni Muslim Brotherhood types. And in fact, Nihad Awad, a terrorist heading up a terrorist organization called Council on American Islamic Relations, based in Washington, D.C., went to Ferguson. I believe he attended the funeral of Michael Brown there.
Yes, he did.
And came out in support of this protest movement. But you need to be able to see the actual moment of death as animated by the animators through the forensic investigation so far of these poor two cops. One was Ramos, Rafael, I believe. They're two names.
Ramos was his last name, actually.
Yeah, a very religious Catholic man. His whole family has said, just forgive and move on. And he was He was an officer at a school district. And no, he's been on the force 7 years. The other one was just recently married. But take a look at how the murder came down. The execution came down. These cops never knew it hit them.
Squad car in New York and shot 2 police officers in the head. As ABC's Aaron Katursky explains, the gunman may have been motivated by revenge.
At their Brooklyn police precinct, funeral bunting instead of a Christmas wreath. At the site where they fell, a makeshift memorial, bearing grim witness to the double murder of police officers Wenjian and Rafael Ramos.
They were, quite simply, assassinated.
Eating lunch in their marked patrol car, the men were jumped by 28-year-old Ishmael Brinsley, who shot them both point blank in the head.
We have found on one of our videos 2 males who spoke with the perpetrator, and then he says, "Watch what I'm going to do."
Their fellow officers closed in. Brinsley ran to a nearby subway station, sending passengers scrambling. Brinsley then turned the murder weapon on himself. Brinsley's social media postings seemed to point to a revenge motive. "I'm putting wings on pigs today," he wrote. "They take one of ours, let's take 2 of theirs," adding, "R.I.P. Eric Gardner, R.I.P. Mike Brown, 2 black men who died at the hands of police."
It is an attack on all of us.
But the police officers union blames New York's Mayor Bill de Blasio for siding with anti-police demonstrators who say the death of Eric Garner is a criminal act.
That blood on the hands starts on the steps of City Hall in the office of the mayor.
The Reverend Al Sharpton has taken the lead in the protests. He condemned the police killings, joined by Eric Garner's widow.
I know what they're going through to lose a loved one right before the holidays.
Each of the slain officers leaves behind a wife. In fact, Officer Liu had just been married 2 months ago. Officer Ramos had 2 children as well. Funeral arrangements are pending. There's a candlelight vigil in Brooklyn at the scene of the crime tonight. Aaron Katersky, ABC News, New York.
The gunman had a long arrest record. He's suspected of shooting his former girlfriend early yesterday. She survived, and police are waiting to interview her once she's well enough.
Here's what I don't understand, and we're gonna look into this as we're laying out this timeline. That was pretty good report there, and a horrible situation of getting shot while you're eating. Officer Liu and Ramos. Ramos's 13-year-old son posted. They were shot late Saturday afternoon, and by Sunday, his 13-year-old son posted on Facebook just a saying that just crushes you. He said, "It's very, very difficult to write about my dad. He was my best friend, was always there for me."
Oh my God!
And
I didn't see this.
I can't understand why people would just shoot 2 police officers who were sitting there doing their job, trying to help it. And it was a very thoughtful post by a 13-year-old son. But when he said, I lost my best friend and my dad, he was always there for me. 13 years old. And it's Christmas time. The Christmas will never be the same for Officer Liu and Officer Ramos's family. Absolutely never. But here's the bizarre part, and we'll try to answer it today. If not today, we'll answer it tomorrow. Why did the demonic Ishmael Abdullah Brinsley, why did he off himself? I don't want to discuss it yet. I want to go on the timeline. He killed the 2 cops. He bragged about it. He planted it. He told people about it. He did it, and then he goes and shoots himself. I mean, I don't want to talk about it.
Because he's a coward, first of all.
But that's a little confusing to me. But I want to get back to the timeline. I want to lay the timeline down. Because
why did they all kill themselves at the end, Tom? He wanted to get his 72 virgins, I
mean, it could be, it could be. Here's
when you
the
don't
deal.
discuss the Muslim angle on this thing, you're missing a whole big, huge psychology of this man. I mean, to bury this like it means nothing is not only poor reporting, it is bad investigation.
When I was in law enforcement school a long time ago, the first year you do mock investigations and all of this stuff. You were taught never to exclude any evidence, to include all the evidence, all the factors. It's better, and even the scenarios or theories that may be a little bit out of the box, you throw them all on the table. You want to get all the pieces there. And then as you move through the investigation and get other eyewitness testimony and all of this, then the pieces start coming into play, and some of the theories that were proposed or ideas start to fall away. But you don't a priori exclude anything.
You mean like last week with the Sydney siege, where the prime minister said that Islam had nothing to do with it, as the black flag of Al-Qaeda is hiding in the window?
Nothing to do with Islam. That flag is just a maniac, a deranged maniac.
Lone wolf.
Islam has nothing to do with this.
So
it goes back to your Christmas statement as you open the show. Political correctness crap has shut down good evidence to bring up why this guy did. Where did he go to? What mosque did he go to?
There's rumor. Patrick Poole wrote an article that there's a rumor that he had visited the Al Farouk Mosque in Brooklyn, which is the nest of the 1993 World Trade Center bombings.
Yep, and we know that one well.
Now, that's not proven, but he did in a prior either Facebook or Instagram message from way earlier in the year, he referenced going to Al Farouk, inshallah. Now, being he was always between the Atlanta, Baltimore, and New York area, there's a pretty good possibility. And if he was at that Farouk Mosque, I guess it would just be Islamophobic for the NYPD to go take a look at there, just like the Boston cops never went to the Islamic Society of Boston.
This is a serious situation, folks. At 55 minutes, got a couple of minutes left in today's show. Maybe it's a three-parter. Who knows? No, it's two parts because we got other stuff. On Wednesday of this week, what do we have? We have, special guest, Ken Abramowitz will be here, friend of ours and an expert on all things Israel.
Oh, he's brilliant.
I think we're going to have on Wednesday, day before Christmas, we're going to have Jerusalem Jane. Working on it at the wall. Schmuck, easy. We're going to have Jane at the wall at the Kotel, at the Wailing Wall, some people call it.
I take her to the Kotel.
We're going to have her streaming live. It's the final lighting, the last lighting of the
ninth
menorah
candle
in Jerusalem. So we're setting that up. That's for Wednesday. Today and tomorrow is Cops and Robbers, the New York sad tragedy. Thursday, special show, Christmas show. We're going to give you a little bit of stuff about Christmas. And Michael Ganone reporting live from Jerusalem. He's a Christian there working with the IDF. And we're going to show you just a beautiful relationship of a Christian supporting and building up the IDF soldiers.
Didn't you hang out with him for a day in Israel a few weeks ago?
Hung out with Michael Ganone, and he'll be on the show for Christmas. Then Friday of this week, we're going to replay, because we'll be playing, we're going to replay a show that never aired on the radio. We had a technical failure. It was all my fault.
No, it was me.
It was technical failure. And our show on Cuba, which was actually a very good show, did not air on the radio. So we're going to play it on the radio for the first time Friday the 26th, and it will also play on the
in its
internet.
Entirety as opposed to the first 23 minutes twice.
What we'll do now, because we only got a couple of minutes left, these hours go so fast.
They do.
Trento, can you do a 2-hour show?
How do they do that? You know what? I'm just going. We'll close the show because we have to do that.
Well, we got a couple minutes.
We'll just we're going to close it. But I'm so hyped on this. I'm not even going to go change my shirt. I'm going to keep my same shirt on for tomorrow. How about that? And saves me ironing. I have to iron all my clothes.
Yeah. Well, you got Christmas presents to buy.
Yeah. We got all that stuff to do. But we want to continue with the timeline because it's very interesting. I don't think people realize the Eric Gardner death occurred almost a month, 3 weeks before the Michael Brown death. And as the Eric Gardner case was working its way through, Michael Brown happened. And Sharpton, who is the cause of all the problems of this, and we got to get that guy. We got to get him to visit the president at the White House because if he can,
because 81 times isn't enough.
What is that?
81 times isn't enough.
81 what?
81 times Al Sharpton has been to the White House.
You're kidding me. I was going to say if we can get him and the president together, maybe they can solve these great problems. But maybe our whole theory falls apart. Maybe they've been together 81 times and that's the cause of these problems.
Oh, I think it is, T.
Yeah,
I think it is.
We are
and I
headed.
think if you kind of go to this and kind of blow it. Here, let me zoom in on this one here.
4-hour drivers in the car, Mark. Who do we have there?
We have Al and Valerie Jarrett, arm and cheek right over here. They're just tight. Once again, being with Obama is nothing. Being with Valerie Jarrett is the key thing.
Al Sharpton, Valerie Jarrett, and some
I think that's one of the Obama daughters.
That's one of the Obama daughters.
That's a daughter?
Yeah.
No way.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it's the older daughter.
All right, well, we're going to check that out. In any event, it was Christmas time there. I don't know if it's this year or not, but that would be crazy if it was this year, probably another year. But we got to go right now, folks. Cops and Robbers, Part 1. Tomorrow, Part 2. We're going to finish the timeline. Oh, we got more. Oh, yeah, we got a little bit more time. We're going to finish the timeline because, as I was saying, timeline is very important to show the events that were percolating. That they weren't percolating. They were very calm and organized by Commissioner Bill Bratton in New York. Wasn't until the events in Ferguson where Al Sharpton saw, I get a twofer, man. I got a twofer going here. I can go there and ask for justice and peace and all that nonsense, and then I can come back in New York, and man, I'm going to have me some money for Christmas. That was going through the mind of Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton is at the center of this, and also complicit are de Blasio, the president, and the attorney general. What a mess, but we need to fix it, folks. More tomorrow. Tom Trento signing off.
State-run healthcare,
Massive unemployment,
wide open borders.
terrorist appeasement.